So I was watching a lot of Bayer Leverkusen's games because they play the same formation that my team plays. And what I noticed is that the football meta is actually being recycled. What's working now in football is nothing new. It's actually what Johan Cruyff was doing with total football 50-something years ago. And maybe this isn't rocket science to anyone, and maybe my thoughts are irrelevant, but I think it's really interesting. And I noticed this because I was reading a book called The Mixer. It's all about Premier League tactics and the evolution of those tactics. And what I noticed was not only is total football coming back, but also some other ideas that were prominent 50 years ago, especially in the Premier League. The most recent tactical evolutions that we've seen are probably from Pep Guardiola when he introduced really slow, monotonous build-up play from the back. And it was all about players staying in their zones of the pitch and eventually exploiting the space that teams would leave behind if their press was bad or their mid-block was bad. But what happened was that teams' mid-block and low blocks got really, really good, and defensive teams became exceptional at blocking those spaces that teams like Man City were looking to exploit. So what did teams like Man City do? Well, not Man City, but now teams like Bayer Leverkusen do. They have now introduced more fluid football. Bayer Leverkusen do it, Atalanta do it, Inter Milan do it, and Real Madrid do it a lot now. And you'll notice that players kind of just go where they want and wherever they feel more comfortable. If they notice that there's space that they can exploit, then they go there. That wasn't something that was prevalent beforehand. And it's starting to work a lot now. The other thing that we're starting to see a lot more of is Route 1 football. Pep Guardiola's done it a few times and won a few games this way, where he'll just get the ball, kick it up to Haaland, and players will play off the second ball. That's something that happened in the Premier League 50 years ago. That was the only way we knew how to play football. Get the ball, kick it up the pitch. And the reason why teams have to kick the ball long is because as teams became better at playing a more fluid style of football, those mid blocks and those low blocks were no longer working. So teams decided to full press, which now leaves space in behind, which is why the long balls come into play, because that's where all the space is. So I find it quite interesting that we're starting to see these ideas be recycled. I think because people for a long time felt that there was only one way to play football, which was playing out from the back, this, that. But something that I believe to be true is there is no one way to play football. Every game has a different challenge and a different puzzle that you have to solve. That's your job. You have to solve the puzzle that's presented in front of you. The reason why I love this style of football and the fact that older ideologies of football are resurfacing is because it shows people that there is not one way to play football. There's a bunch of different answers to the same problem. And I think that's what football is mostly about. It's about looking at the puzzle and figuring out the right way to solve the puzzle. And there isn't a one way to solve it. There's going to be a few different ways. And maybe that changes in the game. Maybe that changes over the course of a year. I don't know. But for a long time, people felt that the only way to play good football was if you played out from the back. I don't believe that to be true. So I'm glad this is happening. So enjoy it.